Hi, I'm Janice Jokkel, your host of Sharing Solutions, and we are excited to have Erin Harrison here, who's going to give us some words of wisdom on estate planning and why it's so important, and why haven't you done it yet? So, Erin.
Well, thank you very much, Janice. And I guess to answer the last question first, why haven't you done it yet? It's because most people haven't. Yes. So I think the one thing to reiterate to everybody that's watching is estate planning is a back burner item for most people. I think it's because we don't like to acknowledge our own mortality. So it does become something that people put on the back burner, even while acknowledging, oh, I really need to do that. I really ought to do that. You have kids, and that's kind of the time that you think about doing it, and then all of a sudden your kids are 15 or 20 years old, and you realize you still haven't done it. So for those of you who have been putting it off, you're in pretty good company. But it is important to do, if only because you want to have an orderly passing of your property, and because you want to identify the people who would be responsible for passing that property, or if you have young kids, responsible for caring for them. And so obviously, property and family are the two very important things that people have in their lives. Having documents that indicate what happens to those upon death are pretty important.
So when I have that in place, how does that protect me?
So I think there's a couple different ways to answer that, but I think the primary protection is just certainty. Having been in private practice for almost 20 years now, you see when, sometimes people think about probate and they think, oh, there's going to be fights or there's going to be long, contentious battles. And certainly I've seen some of those. But when you see those, more often than not, they're born out of lack of clarity. So with clarity, I think, comes protection, because generally, while family, kids, whoever might be left behind may not agree with mom or dad or aunt or uncle's decision, when they know that it is in fact their decision, they generally respect it and accept it. And so that's one element of protection. And then also just knowing it's a peace of mind, really. I mean, it's an investment in having a little bit of peace of mind that if I say X, Y, or Z is going to happen at my death, X, Y, or Z is going to happen if the documents are properly prepared.
And so, you say we don't prepare the whole when does this happen or why hasn't it happened? Is there an age attached to that? When I hit this age, I should do this.
Right. No, it's a great question. There really isn't. I've had clients that range in age from their early 20s to their laters, their 80s, 90s, and beyond. So it is always a work in process. And so when you do it, one of the big questions I get after we actually complete documents is, well, how long are these good for? When do they expire? The good news is they never expire. The bad news is they never expire, right? So there isn't going to be an alarm that goes off to say, oh, now you need to update it. But I find there are three kind of general times when people do. Early in life, young family, that's the time that, I see a lot of people doing documents. Middle of life, where maybe kids are getting out of the home, kids are getting married. That's a time when people come back and say, yeah, we haven't looked at these for 20 years and we've had 3 extra children that weren't named in the documents. And so, they'll come back to do them. And then later in life, where you're kind of doing your final planning, that's obviously a big time too when people come in to do them. So those 3 phases. But the reality is, anytime there's a birth, anytime there's a death, anytime there's a marriage or a divorce, anywhere in your family, those are kind of the life events you should be thinking about that might require taking a look at your documents, at least making sure they still fit.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. So I am honored because you are a thought leader in our new publication called the Community Connector 330. You can go to community330.com. There's a digital copy there. And every month we are going to hear legal lessons from Aaron Harrison, which we are super excited. It's a new contribution to our publication, and so every month you can go and find words of wisdom from Aaron on legal matters. So until next time, where we have an opportunity to share solutions with you, we can't wait to see you next week. Toodles.